All right, everybody, welcome back to Julie's Food Truck channel. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, that's not food. That looks like a 6-cylinder inline diesel engine. Well, that's exactly what that is. You've got your 6 cylinders here, injector lines coming in. Okay, so what was going on was the truck was surging when Julie was driving it, and it would lose power. All the gauges read good, weren't losing oil pressure, wasn't overheating, anything like that. So we had to do a basic diagnostic. I'm not a diesel mechanic, I'm not a certified auto mechanic, but I am a certified master machinist, industrial machinist. And what I do is I build, in my former life, I built pumps, turbines, generators, things like that for refineries and large plant facilities. Anyway, so I know a little bit about mechanical principles, and so we decided to take a look at this thing, and this is what we figured out. All right, the guys are going to be much more interested in this video than the girls, because guys like things like this. Here's your fuel pump right here. Okay, here's your suction line that comes from the fuel tank and brings fuel to the pump. Here's your discharge, which sends fuel to the engine, and then it gets circulated through the injector lines and the fuel goes into the cylinders. Now, diesel is a little bit different than gasoline. That's why certified diesel mechanics and auto mechanics are usually different, but you have guys that have been doing this for a long time and they can usually work on both, because basic mechanical principles are mechanical principles. Okay, so when you have a situation like we had where this thing was surging, you need a combination of factors to make this thing run. Number one, you need fuel. Number two, you need air. So we checked the air intake and we checked the air filter, and it was good. So it was breathing properly. It was getting enough air to burn the fuel. So the next thing we took a look at was the possibility that it wasn't getting enough fuel. Okay, so I opened the bleeder right here on the fuel pump. This is on the discharge side. So I backed that up. That's a bleeder right there. And we ran it and it was pumping good. So we knew that the pump was functioning properly. So the next thing we thought was, well, maybe it's something as simple as the fuel filter being clogged up, and let's go take a look at that. Okay, so here's the fuel filter. It's a bulb type. You have a fuel water separator here in the bottom of the bowl of the filter, and what happens is diesel doesn't evaporate at as high a rate as gasoline. So diesel has a tendency to draw moisture. And so you have a fuel water separator, and that keeps the water out of your diesel fuel. And it's a good idea ever so often to drain this here, because diesel is in essence very light oil, so it'll sit on the top of water and water will go to the bottom. So you drain this out every few days. You just turn it for a few seconds, hold a cup under there to catch it, and then close it back up, and you'll get your water out of your fuel system. Let's crawl under here, take a bird's eye view of the fuel pump here. Okay, so we're looking at the bottom of the fuel pump. It's right there, and down here you have a priming handle. That's basically a manual pump to prime the fuel to get it to go through the system. Now, if you change your fuel filter, like on here, you have to drain that bowl all the way down so all the fuel is out of it. You can get air in your fuel system. What that's going to do is cause cavitation in the pump. So it's basically an air gap where the fuel can't get by. And so you got to make sure when you change a filter on something like this that you get the air out of the system. And like I said, on the discharge side of your pump, there will be a bleeder, and that's almost a universal thing. Back that off, replace your filter. You fill, this one is a different type of filter, because this one has a clear bulb and an indicator that you're getting proper fuel level through it, and it's got to be above the filter for this to run properly. So this comes off, this little keeper up here on top comes off, and there's a little O-ring underneath there. Take that off, and the bulb is held down by spring pressure and this clamp right here. But you can pull this off after you replace your filter, fill the fuel level up above the filter, tighten this back down, put your clamp back on, holds everything in place. Then you back that little bleeder off that I showed you guys, and you manually pump it right here until fuel starts to come out, and that's where you need assistance. You have to have somebody tighten that bleeder down for you. And then you crank it up and you take it down the road. And in our case, that fixed the situation. I don't know if you could hear, hit my head on the hood back there, stopped the video. And here's our intake for our air, and this is the filter in here. I had to pull this canister off. I looked inside the filter. The outside of the filter can get dusty and dirty. You can pull that out and blow it off with compressed air or whatever. But a good way, like this one, you can see down inside the filter, and that's a good way to check it, because if it's nasty in there, then it's time for a new filter. And that's why preventative maintenance on stuff like this is so important. So thanks for watching this episode of the Food Truck Channel. And this is just one more example of why it's important to have lots of different skills. That's why I'm the assistant burger chef, but I am the head mechanic on the ship here to take care of little small items like this. So once again, thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for being on the truck.